All right. He spent 5 seasons on the very popular telenovela and Netflix series Jane the Virgin. Justin Baldoni stole the show as the hunky hotel owner and baby daddy of Jane. But I think, we've just had a peep, I think his looks have gone downhill.
But for a man who wears many hats on screen, he's now got a new role in real life, releasing a brand new book called Man Enough, Undefining My Masculinity. And Justin Baldoni joins us now. Good morning, Justin.
No, I was wrong. He looks amazing still.
I was going to say, who's that clean-shaven, short-haired man that you were just showing? I'm like, who is that guy?
I don't know, but now I'm looking at you, I don't care.
No. See, you don't say these things. I'm not allowed to say that. But Justin, it is very nice
he's
to have
man
you with
enough.
us.
He's man enough to say it. I love it.
Yes,
There you
and
go,
this is what
buddy.
it's all about, right? I mean, you're a fantastic actor, a successful director in the industry. So, but you kind of thought, well, hang on, I want to be an author too.
Not at all. That's not even at all anything close to what it was. But thank you. No, writing this book, honestly, I tried to get out of it a few times because it's so deeply personal and yet also so important. I think that we don't talk about the challenges we face as men nearly enough because it's not manly to talk about. Why try to bring down a system that benefits me? And so it was really important. So author wasn't on my bucket list. And if you talk to any of my teachers growing up, they'd be very surprised that I ended up writing a book because it was very hard to even get me to read one growing up. But yeah, so happy to at least be able to say that.
Well, I think as a guy, the topics that you're sort of unpicking and unpacking, you're right, they're so deeply entrenched in the patriarchy in our society and toxic masculinity, which all these things we're sort of discussing more now. What do you think about these issues and how hard is it to separate yourself from them?
Well, you can't really separate yourself from them. It's a zero-sum game. It's about owning it and allowing the fact that we are all being hurt by the same system to penetrate us. And as men, we're taught to not let anything penetrate us. I mean, we were taught to put on armor at a very early age, and that armor ends up being the thing that protects us from the outside world, but it's also the thing that we end up suffocating from. Because that armor tells us that we can't show our emotions. We can't cry. We got to man up. We got to toughen up. We can't ask for directions. We can't ask for help. And we end up drowning in our own tears inside our own armor and never reaching out for help. That's why men are killing themselves at such higher rates than women. And at the end of the day, hurt people hurt people. How about the fact that 1 in 5 boys are molested before the age of 10? Yeah. We don't talk about these things. And if you really think about all the things that we experience as men, we shield, we put on the armor to protect this illusion that we are masculine, that we are enough, when in reality, all of us are struggling with something, yet we feel so alone. And that's what we got to address. We got to be willing to address the root cause of all of it and to say, vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. And me reaching out to a mate and asking for help doesn't make me weak. You know what? I'm willing to be strong enough to ask for help, even if he uses it against me, even if he tells everybody about it, because I'd rather not suffer in silence and die.
Yeah.
I need help just like anybody else.
They're so important, these messages, and it's so important to have someone like you speak about them. And you're a dad too, so how important is it for you to teach your son what it means to be a man?
Well, I think one of the things that's so important is I'm teaching my son what that being a man is simply being a good human. I have a son and a daughter. I feel so blessed. And, one of the things I'm actively doing as a parent is I'm preparing each of them for the way in which the world is going to unteach them everything that I'm trying to teach them. So I know already for a fact that the world's going to tell my daughter that she has to conform, that she can't take up too much space, that she can't be too loud, that she shouldn't be too much, that she should cross her legs and be pretty. And the world's going to tell my son that he has to suck it up, that it's not okay for him to cry, to ask questions, or to ask for help when he doesn't know the answer in school, that he's got to suck it up and there's no crying in baseball and all of these types of things. And I'm doing the opposite now, reminding my boy that it's okay to cry. How do I do that? By crying in front of him, by showing emotion, by expressing it, by letting him in and seeing my weaknesses. In the same way that I'm teaching my daughter that she should take up space. She should use her voice. that she should be too much, if you will, because the world's going to try to drown that stuff out. And I need her to know at an early age that she's enough as she is, just like I need my boy to know that he is enough as he is.
So you're going to have a podcast too. You've got a podcast as well. It's got some pretty big names on board. Tell us about that, because I think this would be a great extension for people who are enjoying this conversation now.
Yeah, you know, look, you can only do so much in a book. And I realized after I wrote the book that the reality was a lot more women were going to pick it up than men, because as men, we are resistant to these types of conversations. That's why I won't even say toxic masculinity. I don't say the word toxic, because I want to make sure that men know this is not an attack on men. I don't apologize for being a man in the book.
Yeah.
I love being a man. This is an invitation so that we can not just become better men, but become better humans. And the podcast is a free-flowing conversation with myself, the incredible Liz Plank, who's an author of For the Love of Men, and my best friend in the world, Jamie Heath, who has been instrumental in my journey to being man enough and feeling enough. And we have this conversation with celebrities, but also with people that are not celebrities. And the whole idea is to just go deeper, to normalize this conversation. We don't always agree, and that's the whole thing. Everyone's got a different perspective. And so long as we can come together and stop making each other the enemy or otherizing each other based on a differing of opinion, instead build bridges, we can realize that we're all one and we can get through this together.
This is truly inspiring. Thank you so much. I mean, I know we started out with a laugh, but it's just such a great conversation to have. An absolute joy to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Justin.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate the support.
Thanks,
You got
Justin.
it, buddy.
Justin Baldoni's new book and podcast, Man Enough, is available now.
Such a great conversation.
Absolutely.
Fabulous.
Listen to him all day.
Same. Still to come, the